I'm Kayla.
I'm Anna. This is Laughs and Legacies.
Welcome back to Laughs and Legacies. This week we got car crashes and disasters. When I first graduated high school, I went to a birthday party. I really didn't know very many people, but I knew the birthday girl. We went roller skating, and I decided I'm going to make a bunch of friends tonight. And I did. I met a super cool group of friends. I'm still friends with one of them to this day. That's a whole different story, though. We had a fun night doing, obviously, the roller skating, but we decided to ditch that, and we had a very crazy night of our own, this new group of friends that I made. We ended up going laser tagging, and one of the kids in the group knew who was working the laser tag area, and he's like chatting it up with him, and so he let us in for free. One, that was cool. And then two, he's like, why don't you come play with us? He destroyed us. I have never seen somebody get so many points in laser tags. It was unbelievable.
You're telling me he wasn't on your team?
He was not on my team.
Dang.
I think we did a free-for-all.
Really?
I don't think we did teams. I think it was just everyone for themselves.
That's awesome. No mercy.
It was, he dominated us. It was not even funny. Then we went to In-N-Out, and then we helped a stranger move his car for like push a car for a mile because it was dead. And then we had a dance party in the parking lot. This is all leading up to a car issue, I promise. It was a really fun night. We'll just leave it at that. We stayed out super late. We ended up, at the end of all the craziness, went to somebody's house and started watching a movie. And I'm falling asleep on the couch. And I finally look at my watch and go, oh my gosh, it is 4:30 in the morning. I should probably go home because it's a 30-minute drive. So I have the windows down, music blaring, going, oh my gosh, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. I don't want to not go back home because my parents are going to be pissed. I need to get home. So I'm drive the whole way. I'm getting off the freeway. I have less than 5 minutes to get home. And I start shutting my eyes and I hit a median. I popped both my left tires, front and back. And the big O tires was not even a half a mile away. But because it was two tires, I had to call a tow truck. I called my dad at 5 in the morning. It was not a fun conversation to have. But yes.
I remember getting a call. I was in bed around 4 or 5. And it's from Kayla, and I'm just like, hello? And I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember saying what, a million times, because I was so asleep, and I just wasn't really processing that you just popped your tires. And I was like, what do you want me to do? I can't do anything.
I didn't want to tell Dad, because it was his car. I had a different car, and I'm so grateful I wasn't driving my car, because my car was a 1998 Jeep Wrangler. Very top heavy, so if I had hit that median in my car, I would have flopped right over.
Honda Accord or Civic?
I was driving the Honda Civic.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha. Nice.
And so I'm really grateful I was driving that car that night because I didn't hurt myself, just the car. But yeah, I had to wait till a tow truck came. Wow, good language, good grammar. And he took forever just to drive my car less than a half a mile. I was like, this sucks.
That sounds like a good night. Hey, yo.
It was a really fun night. And like I said, I'm still friends with one of them.
That was probably so scary. I bet you were totally awake after that.
I was. That's the only, car incident, of damaging a car I've ever had.
I have a couple. A couple weeks after I got my license, I was driving to school. It was high school, I think my senior year. I was driving, and I was driving a truck, whereas all the other school kids had smaller cars. And
we all drove this truck, and it was the best.
It was so fun. Except I didn't really gauge and understand how much harder you have to hold the brake to come to a complete stop really fast. Oh. So all these little cars in front of me come to a complete stop, and I'm in the middle of the intersection. So I was freaking out that I was in the middle of the intersection, and they just stopped, and I was not anticipating that at all. I tried to hit the brakes, and I thought I was pressing hard, which I now know that I could have pressed harder, but I I thought I was pressing pretty hard, and I totally hit the little car in front of me. It wasn't super bad. I felt it, and I was like, did I hit them? I think I hit them, and I was freaking out. I just stayed there in the middle of the intersection. Everyone's honking at me. There was nothing I could do. And I was a little 17-year-old. I was scared. The person in the car in front of me gets out of the car and comes back to my window, and it's this mom, and I was like, oh no, she's gonna cuss me out and murder me. I roll down the window, and then I turn my head over to her, and she's just like, hey, let's just like meet up in the parking lot, like the school parking lot. I was like, okay. And I roll up the window. I thought she was going to tear me apart. I was so afraid. And I get out of my car. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do. I like was stuttering. I couldn't think. And I started to cry. And she just grabbed me and gave me a hug.
Oh, that's so cute.
I'm going to cry right now because that was so meaningful. I am crying. You guys can't see on the pod, on Spotify. But I was like literally so sad, and I was like traumatized a little bit from hitting a car. I like never got in trouble or did things.
Yeah.
And I hit someone's car, and the best thing that could have happened in the world was just a hug from this stranger telling me it's okay. And she helped me like figure out my insurance stuff, like get it out and everything, and it was all taken care of.
That's so nice, because when people freak out and do the cuss out, you know, like you thought you were gonna get, it just makes everything so much worse. Like,
yeah.
Why do you need to make a not good situation worse?
Yeah. It already happened. You
Yeah.
just accept it and do the best you can. And honestly, it taught me a really good lesson too. It's better to just have patience and be kind to people, like in that sort of situation when, like, they know they messed up. I knew I messed up, and
it's not like you were being dumb. Like, if you were being a dumb teenager, like doing donuts or something, you know, that gives good reason to kind of yell out, be like, what are you doing?
Yeah. But no one was hurt. It was
messed
fine.
up.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm glad it all turned out good. And I did say that I didn't really have another story, but I guess I did have another one. In this one, I didn't actually I didn't hurt the car at all. But it really scared me. It was enough to scare me.
Practically a near-death experience.
Actually. It was sprinkling here. It wasn't a lot, but you know, when you're on the road, sometimes there's oil on the road, and so it makes the road slippery. And again, I was in this 1998 Jeep Wrangler. It was a manual car, and I didn't speed up fast or anything, but as I was getting onto the freeway, I start spinning out. I'm spinning and spinning and spinning. I just froze. I did not know what to do. Didn't touch the wheel, didn't touch the brake or gas, nothing. I was just like, ah! I didn't even yell,
Jesus,
actually.
take the wheel.
I just sat there like, what do I do? But my car just like stopped out of nowhere, and getting onto the freeway was actually a downward hill, and it had a gate on the side blocking the hill that, you know, went down to the freeway, and I had stopped backwards right in front of the gate. If I had gone even a foot farther, I would have hit the gate and probably rolled down the whole hill. So it was like terrifying to me. I was like shaking so bad, but I had just stopped, and because it was a manual car, you know, once I stopped, I stalled, which was just such a miracle, because I just sat there like, what do I do now? And I got out of my car and looked, I'm like, how did my car stop when I didn't even touch the brake? It could have hit that gate and just rolled all the way down. That would have been so bad. Not only the roll down, but probably a car would have hit me. I probably would not be here right now if I hit that gate.
That's insane.
Which is terrifying.
That's a miracle.
It was right before my mission too, and I literally was like, God's looking out for me. He needed me to go. That was literally how I felt at the time.
That's scary. I've never spun out before. I can't imagine.
I've spun out but on purpose, doing donuts.
Oh yeah, that's not spinning out.
Yeah.
That's just donuts.
Not even in Utah. When I lived in snow, I've never spun out. That was the only time. And it terrified me. In Arizona.
Arizona rain.
Dumb.
I have a near-death experience, but it's not mine exactly. It's some friends from high school. It was a homecoming dance, and a lot of us and my groups of friends and other people, they do like the day date before the dance, usually a week before or the day of. we went to the lake. We went paddleboarding. We had 3 separate cars because it was a big group of dates, whatever, bunch of people. My car was in the back of our little train, and we were jamming out. It's nighttime, it's dark. We're jamming out, headed back after the whole day, and we see a huge cloud of dust. And we're just laughing. We think it's some kids that had gone and done some donuts. We're like, oh, that's so cool. Some people are having fun out there. And then my date, he's like, oh my gosh, I think I saw like our friend's car. I'm going to name him John. He's like, I think I saw John's car. I was like, are you serious? And it's a little red truck. So we pull over, and sure enough, there's a red truck, like slanted, like the nose of the truck downwards, and the back of the truck is up because it had fallen on a cactus and other plants.
Oh
it was in like all these bushes in the desert. So we go over to it, and as I'm walking up, there's just the cloud of dust settling. You can see that his truck had gone up this hill, over the hill, and had landed on all these bushes. So they must have gotten air. And I'm walking up.
How terrifying would that be? Just like flying in your car. You're like, where am I gonna land?
Yeah, well, these were my best friends too, and I was freaking out. I said to our driver, I was like, hey, call the police. Let's go check him out. And so he's calling the police, and I remember going up to the car, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, please don't be dead. Please don't be dead. Please don't be dead.
Oh, it's so terrifying.
And I was spooked. I couldn't get to the driver's side where John was, so I go to the other side where my friend Jane was. I'm gonna name her Jane. And
Jane.
Yeah, Jane. John and Jane.
John and Jane.
And her car passenger door was open. She wasn't even in there. I was like, please tell me she did not go flying. The windshield wasn't broken, so I was like, okay, she must have gotten out at some point. I'm like, Jane. And I go around to the back of the car, and she's just sitting on the floor, like on a rock. And she's like, hey. And I was like, hi.
Like, can you tell me what happened?
Yeah, I was like, are you okay? She's like, I'm good. Is Jared okay? Oh, shoot. John, Jared, whatever.
So much for keeping his name.
It's fine. I've told this story so many times too, and they tell it a lot all the time. It's just so scary. And so I go over to him, and I'm like, are you okay, man? And he's like, I'm good. And they weren't bleeding or anything. They were totally fine. Which eventually all of the fire trucks and ambulances come, a ton of people come, and they say, you guys should have died. You guys took out, when you went over the top of the hill, you took out boulders. Your little truck should have been busted and broken. It should have stopped the truck, and you two should have flown through the window. How are you guys alive? And they go and check out my friend Jane, and they're like, hey, are you good? They're like, can you call your parents? She says, yeah. She picks up her phone. She talks to Siri. She says, Siri, call Darth Vader. The fireman's like, what? It's her dad.
Call Darth Vader.
Oh, about like an hour in, everyone's fine. But they're like, hey, can you take a picture of all of us?
They're like,
the
what?
fireman's like, yeah, he's like, what? And he takes the phone. He's like, you guys are the weirdest and happiest car crash we ever did see. And they're like, well, it's our homecoming date.
Oh my gosh.
But they were fine. The poor little red truck didn't make it, but spooky.
That road really is scary, actually.
Oh, I forgot to say what happened. First of all, we don't know exactly what happened, but they say that the brakes must have went out or something. They weren't sure.
Yeah.
Lost control.
I mean, it was busted up anyways. It's gonna be hard to figure it out. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that road is scary, and it has a lot of hills, which takes me to our last story, which is from my dad.
Cars and hills. Okay.
Cars and hills. They don't do well. They don't mix. So,
unless you're in a Jeep.
Yeah, well, unless you spin out on a hill.
Okay, I see.
Just kidding. Well, this story is when my dad was finishing high school. He had a 1966 Chevy pickup, and they lived about 60 miles away from the school. They usually took the bus, but on their last day of school, they're like, my dad's like, hey, I'm going to drive, me and my buddies, so that we can go to the parties afterwards. And then after all the parties, let's go fishing, like night fishing. So they go have their last day, they go have fun, they go fishing, yada, yada, yada. As they started driving back, it's already late now, something was going on with the car. It kind of just stopped working. And so my dad pulls over, he's checking it out, and he's like, I'm pretty sure the transmission is going out. So he calls his dad, my grandpa, and goes, hey, this is what's going on. He's like, yeah, it sounds like your transmission's going out. So they either had to get a tow truck or try to drive it home. And my dad was like, you know what? I think I could make it. So he tells his dad, we're going to try to drive it home. It might take us a while, so if we are not back by 1 a.m., come get us. Something happened. So they start driving. And on the way to home, there were a lot of hills. Going forward, like driving forward, didn't really work. But for some reason, driving in reverse worked perfectly fine.
Oh, jeez.
It's a great start, right? So they would be driving up these hills, and for most of them, he struggled, and then if he didn't think he was going to make it, his friends would jump out. Now, when you're driving slow in a car, you feel like you're driving really slow, right? But you don't realize you're still driving like 15 miles an hour, and your feet gotta go that fast too. And so his friends would jump out and sometimes face plant it and then have to get up and then run and push the car. Or my dad would start getting faster at the top of the hill, and then they're trying to run and jump onto the back of the car, and if they didn't, they'd face plant it again.
Oh, man.
So there's that. And so that's how they did most of the hills, is their friends would jump out, push the car. But he got to some of them, and they were just too big. So he would start going in reverse up the hill, and he got pretty good. He didn't want to freak out other cars, so when he saw other cars, he'd pull off to the side and turn his headlights off. So he didn't, cars coming towards him, onward traffic, didn't think, oh, a car's coming to hit me, right? Mm. That would be terrifying. So he'd, turn everything off and then start again and go in reverse. They did this for a while. And then a cop car comes by and, woo, of course, pulls over. Luckily, it was a family friend.
Oh.
So the family friend is like, the cop goes, what you guys doing? My dad told him the situation. He goes, I actually have a push bumper. Let me push you up the hills, what you can't make it. So he followed them for a couple miles, and eventually he got a call. So he had to leave. It gets better. So he ended up leaving. So my dad and his friends go back to pushing and face planting and going in reverse up these hills to finally get home. A couple miles later, they see a car that's driven off the side of the road. It's in a ditch. And my dad goes, oh no, let's check out what happened to this guy. And they pull over, and when my dad walks up, it's that same cop.
No.
He was in a ditch. And he goes, what happened? He said, yeah, a guy was speeding the other direction. When I went to turn around, I went into this ditch, and now I'm stuck. That's I can pull you out, but I have to do it in reverse because I have no power going forward. He goes, no, I already called other people. So my dad and his friends left, the cop in the ditch, and by the time they finally got to their town, it was past 1 a.m. and they saw their mom driving in, wow, I'm glad you made it.
Oh, she came.
She did come. I'm sure Grandpa was with him, but my dad just said that their mom was with him.
That is such a cute and fun story.
I don't think he'll ever forget that. His friends just jumping out and face planting. His little laugh as he's telling me this is just hilarious. He's like, yeah, just every time.
That's the most redneck small town story I ever did hear.
Honestly.
That's all we have for this week. Happy Thanksgiving, first of all. I'm so grateful that we
That's next week.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This episode's going to come out the week of Thanksgiving, so
That's true.
happy Thanksgiving. I'm grateful that we've been able to do this podcast. I can't believe that we actually started it and that we have you listening. I really
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was like, it's just going to be for us, and maybe a couple people listen, but you guys have been so awesome. I'm really glad that you guys enjoy this too. Our next week's episode's going to be about...
My kids did this.
So
fill in the blank.
Yes.
I know we got lots of stories out there because kids are little Tasmanian devils. We love them.
Those are going to be good ones. Thank you guys so much. Have a good week.
Ciao.